sit the fuck down now, or I swear to fucking Christ, I'm going to teach you how to make your very own logo. Alright, let's get on with it then. So what you want to do is you want to press create new. Once you've got this little dialog box open, you want to make sure the width and the height is set to 800, make sure this is set to pixels, and make sure your background contents are set to white. Obviously you can use whatever size you want. It really doesn't matter as long as it's as long as they're both the same number, as long as it's somewhere between 100 and 1000, you're all good to go. So once you've done that, you then want to press create. And once you've got your background, you then want to click this little lock icon next to your background layer. And once you've turned it into a normal layer, so yeah, that just means you can sort of do whatever you want with it. You then want to select the horizontal text tool. So once you've got that selected, you want to use the font Gotham. Make sure it's the bold version of the font. Make sure it's black. Obviously, you can use whatever font you like, but this is the font I'm using because it just sort of fits the theme that I'm going for here. And if you're struggling to find the font, I'm going to put in the link. I'm going to put the link to the website I got it from in the description anyway. So it's fine. You should be able to sort of get that font, no problem. So once you've got that font selected, you then want to click somewhere in the middle. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot, make sure the size is about 457. Obviously it will depend on the size of your background, but if you're using 800 by 800 like me, I reckon 457 is about, I know it's quite a specific number, I've just basically just sort of doubled the largest number, or I've divided it by 8 pretty much. I'm just trying to sort of be exact, but yeah, so once you've got that number in there, you then want to sort of just highlight all the text, and you can put whatever you want as long as it fits within the canvas. I'm just going to put my just the initial of my channel, nothing special. You then want to hold down Control and press A, or Command A if you're using a Mac, obviously. Then you want to center it, so if you just click these two middle buttons here, that will center your text. So then you want to hold on Control and press D. Now obviously it looks pretty shite at the moment, pretty fucking boring. So let's liven it up a bit. So what you want to do is you want to hold Control or Command and press J to duplicate the layer. And if you just hide this one, so just click this little eye icon here. And once that's hidden, you then want to right click on the new copied or duplicated text layer and click rasterize type. So the reason we're doing this is just so we're working non-destructively, just in case you want to edit the text. So it's just a bit of an easier way of working, and it just means this layer you can then do whatever you want with it without any sort of restrictions. There's not too many restrictions. It's just I think they're just certain effects you can't reapply to it. But anyway, so once you've done that, once you've got this, you then want to grab your polygon lasso tool. So that's just this one here. I mean, I think it's normally just selected by default anyway, but sometimes you might have this lasso tool selected. So if you just sort of hold left click on the third button down, and then just come down to the polygon lasso tool if it hasn't been selected already. So once you've got that selected, what you then want to do is you want to basically click here and click here, and then just basically come round. And once you see this little circle, next to the icon, then you click and it will basically join it all up. So once you've done that, you want to hold down Control Command and press X, so that'll cut it, and then you want to hold down Control Command and press V, so that'll then paste it into a new layer. So now that it's split up, what you can do is you can just sort of move it around a little bit. I like to sort of limit how much I move it around, just so it's not too dramatic. I mean, obviously it depends what you're going for, but this is the sort of look that I quite like, so I'm going to stick with that. And what you can then do is come back down to this layer and use the same tool, and just basically just take loads of little bits out of it. That's pretty much how I made my logo. So basically just keep doing this repeatedly, and yeah, you've pretty much got yourself the sort of logo that I've got, basically. So yeah, at this point it's just sort of a matter of you sort of playing around and trying to find something that suits you. Right, so yeah, I'm just gonna do a couple of more bits. Oops. Hang on a minute. Oh, of course it's that bit, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, once you've done that, I mean, there's all sorts of other stuff you can do. I mean, you can smudge some of them. So say for example you want to smudge that, if you come down here just under the gradient tool here, you've got the smudge tool. If it's got the blur tool already selected, again just hold left mouse click and then come down to smudge, and yeah, you just pretty much just want to smudge it a little bit. Don't go too mental, or maybe you do want to go a little bit mental, it's up to you. Actually, I'm gonna undo that and just do that again. But yeah, you know, it's just there's all sorts of little effects you can sort of add to this, make it just look a bit kind of grungy and not you know, completely perfect basically. Something else I quite like to do as well is if you get the eraser tool, let's say set the opacity to about 50. What you can do is you can just sort of take little bits out of it, and it's just quite a nice sort of look. I just quite like it. It just sort of adds that kind of sort of sketchy feel to it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, if you just sort of do this to all theirs. I mean, you don't have to. Obviously, it's up to you. But if you want to copy me, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I mean, just get rid of that actually. By the way, the shortcut for the eraser tool is E, so if you just want to quickly, without having to go all the way over here, I know it's a bit of a stretch if you're a completely lazy bastard like me, but yeah, it's basically just E. I mean, there's obviously lots of other ones. If you know, mouse over, then it'll sort of tell you what the hotkey is. But yeah, if you just once you're happy with that, then what you then want to do is if you come down to this bottom layer, this one here, and then hold down shift and click this top one, hold down control command and press J, and that will duplicate them all. So what you then want to do is you want to then combine all of these, bring them underneath, and then what you can then do is you can then start to add little sort of different effects to each of these little pieces. So if you come up to filter here, you can let's say you wanted to blur one of them, so give it a Gaussian blur. You just come to Gaussian blur obviously, and then let's say something about 6 I reckon will be alright. So once you've got Gaussian blur for that one, you could maybe add a little bit of a motion blur for this one. I reckon that'll do. So what you then want to do, what you can then do is come down to this full layer, and you can get the eraser tool again, and if this time you bring the opacity up to 50 this time, I don't know why it's set to 59, obviously mistyped. So yeah, if you then want to do, what you then want to do is you then want to start erasing just little bits of it, and it just creates quite a nice sort of effect. It's quite sort of, it makes it the sort of individual effects quite fluid. So yeah, if you just again just come down to sort of each layer. Sorry if this is the most boring fucking tutorial you've ever watched. I know most of this is just me sort of doing this myself, but I'm just sort of giving you a bit of an idea of the sort of thing that you might want to, the sort of look you might want to get. But yeah, so once you've got something like this, you can then start messing around with blend modes. So what you can do, not blend mode, sorry, color grading. So if you come up to adjustments here, click the color lookup. Just in case you don't have these bits, I'm not gonna use any of these because mine didn't come with these. I had to download them separately. But if you do have them, that's fine. You can experiment, you can mess around with them. That's fine. But yeah, so if you let's just start off with this one. So basically, it's just a matter of going through all the different sort of looks and seeing which one best suits you. So if you get your mouse wheel and make sure you're mousing over this little drop down menu here, and just scroll down with your mouse wheel. Hang on. Hang on a minute. Yeah, so yeah, it's just basically about pretty much experimenting and just seeing which works best for you. So yeah, you can get all sorts of different results. What you can also do actually is if you make sure you've got this layer selected and then come down to this bottom layer again, basically just do the same. So if you Control Command J again, so duplicate that again, and then hold down Control or Command E, that will then merge all of those. And what you can do then is, say you wanted to add another effect, just so it's a bit smoother, and you sort of know, because basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you to change the blend mode, and then it will create this quite nice sort of superimposed kind of look. So if you give it a bit of a radial blur first, I think that'll be quite nice to start off with. Just make sure it's set to zoom and the quality is set at best, and make sure the amount is about 25. I think that'll do. You don't need anything too dramatic. So yeah, once you've done that, you then want to change the blend mode to overlay. I mean, sometimes this will work better for it. Just it just depends what your logo looks like. Sometimes it won't look as good. I mean, you can duplicate it if you want, just to sort of give it a bit more strength. But yeah, there's all sorts of different effects you can try out. So once you've got that, if you come up to adjustments and then click gradient map, that will pretty much put the gradient, just pretty much turn the entire image into a gradient. Basically, it'll just so yeah, you've got your shadows and then you've got your highlights. Basically, that's sort of how it works it out. So what you then want to do, click the gradient bar, and then if you've got Photoshop CC 2021, you've got all these different options. So what I quite like, let's have a look at some pinks. You can create some pretty interesting effects. So if you click OK, and then let's see what looks good. Yeah, so depending on what gradient you select, they'll some will stand out more than others. So if you what you can also do is click the reverse button, so that will just mix it up a bit. So I think this gradient that I've gone for is a little too subtle for me. So if you just have a bit more of a look around, you can find something that better suits the sort of thing you're going for. So this seems to have quite a lot of colours in here, so I'm going to have a go at this one. Yeah, no, I think I like that. I think I like the way that looks. What you can then also do, let's see. Is yeah, you can add an image over the top. So I'll just take this here. You can create quite an interesting effect. So, you know, just use whatever image best suits you. It can be the theme of your channel or whatever the logo's for. It can be anything really. So once that's loaded up, you then want to press enter, and if you just change that to screen, that will then overlay. That can overlay your logo. What you can do also is you can, if you prefer, you can make it linear dodge. It just looks a bit brighter, really. If you notice sort of certain edges, you can resize it. And if it's still a little, if you can still see some of the outlines, what you can then do, let's see, so if you go select inverse, hang on, sorry, I'm not right. So if you have a little bit of a border, I think this is probably a bit of an easier way to do it. Sorry if this is getting a little confusing. So it's a smart object. If it's when you put a new image in, it will usually be a smart object. So when you try to do something, so there are certain things you can't do. So when you try to do one of those things, it will bring this up. So it's basically just asking you to rasterize it. So click yes, and that pretty much, again, just means you have more options. So what you can then do, once you've got your eraser tool selected and the opacity is 100, you can then come around the edges and basically just erase those edges, just to make sure it's only, you're only seeing it on the logo. What you then want to do is you want to change the opacity. So I'm going to make it 33. Or you can make it 50. I mean, yeah, you can play around with the blend mode, so if it doesn't really sort of work for you, you can sort of basically just mess around with it. I can give that a radial blur. Or, if you don't want to use it, you can obviously just delete it. That's basically just another way of me saying I fucked this up completely, and this image obviously just doesn't really want to play ball. So yeah, you can. This is all about experimenting. So this is really just a bit of a starter. This is just a bit of something to get you started on making your own logo. Sorry if it got a bit complicated in places. If you've got any questions or you're struggling on any bit, make sure you just leave a comment. I mean, I'm a new channel, so I should be able to reply relatively quickly. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Cheers. Right, so there you go. Hope that was helpful. If it wasn't, fuck off. No, I'm kidding. I don't mind. Just give me all the hate you like. See you then. Bye. Absolute fucking load of shite that was. That was absolutely fucking mental. The fact that you actually believe there are people sad enough, there are people sick enough to want to watch this shite. If my nan was dying. All right. You
possibly
finished?
was watching your videos.
Right. Do you know what?
Come here, you cunt.
Don't even fucking try it, mate. The door's fucking locked.
Sorry.
You fucking nuts in. Fucking prick. Fucking piece of shit.